We're here with Ed FitzGerald, who's running for re-election in Bonita Springs Fire District 1. If you could take the first couple of minutes here, Ed, and kind of remind voters out there who you are and what you are running for.
I'm Ed FitzGerald. I'm a 23-year resident of Bonita Springs, Florida. I'm a retired New York City Deputy Fire Chief. 79 years old, by the way. My health is in good condition. I'd like to just tell you something a little bit about my health. I work out 3 times a week in the gym for about an hour each. I have a bad back. It's a result of an injury sustained in a roof collapse while fighting fires in New York City. My heart, lungs, kidneys, and liver are all originals, well-worn but serviceable. My balding condition has been stabilized, and I have no intention, desire, or expectation to soon be meeting my Lord Jesus. I'll tell you a little bit about my education and then we'll go on. I have an undergraduate degree from Pace University in New York City. I went on the GI Bill and later got a scholarship. I'm a graduate of the New York City Master's program called the Top 40 City Managers run by Urban Academy. I have a fellowship, or completed a fellowship at Columbia University. I was in the fire department, gave me a year off of work to go to that fellowship. I've been to Harvard University, John F. Kennedy School of Business. I've been to the American Management Association President's Program, very prestigious program. I'm a nationally certified building code official. I'm a licensed New Jersey residential building inspector. I've been in the fire department, I was in the fire department from 1957 to 1985. It's almost 29 years. I was a fireman, lieutenant, captain, battalion chief, deputy chief, and assistant chief of department. While I was in the fire department, I was the New York Fire Department coordinator for the installation of the Democratic National Convention in Madison Square Garden. I've been on the fire board for 10 years. It's been an unusual experience for me. I would not say the most gratifying that I've had in my life. Some of the things that I've done, and by the way, I would tell you that when I came on in 2004, this was a dysfunctional fire board. They performed and operated as if they were elected to support and serve the fire chief and the firefighters union in all things, at all times and without question. The taxpayers' interest was seldom mentioned. There was no rule of order in the early meetings. It took me a year to get the board meetings televised so we could get some control of what was going on. But even so, it may have been too late because the residents had stopped coming to board meetings. They were not pleased with the absence of intelligent discussions from the commissioners and seeing almost all motions being passed 5-1. Even the local newspaper stopped sending a representative to the Bonita Springs Fire Board meetings. You being the local newspaper, by the way. It was difficult then, and still is, for me to make change or improvements or stop wasteful practices. But when I was first elected, and I still do, I try to represent the taxpayers, refuse to be intimidated by threat, insult, or other machinations of those in and out of the board. Other boards may be dysfunctional, but only in Bonita Springs do we have a nefarious relationship between three, the board, the union, and the department itself. And that nefarious relationship is focused and shown in the publication of the paper called the Banana Peel. And if that Banana Peel association or connection is not broken, we will not have fair and honest elections in Bonita Springs. Okay, what have I done or tried to do in the time I've been there? I saved the residents of Bonita Springs $12 million over 10 years by decommissioning a useless fire truck. Took me 6 months to track the work of that truck. It never was used, and yet it was manned by 4 men a tour, costing $1.2 million a year. I had to fight the Board of Commissioners to decommission it. It's been decommissioned for 10 years. It sits in the garage. By the way, Estero Fire Department just bought one. I don't know why. They could have had ours. New York City has 5 of them, by the way, one for each borough, one for each 1.5 million people, which can give you the justification for buying it. Volunteer fire departments in Nassau County and Suffolk County, would you guess, they have 149 of them. They are toys bought to appease volunteer firemen. Bonita Springs, we bought it. For what reason, I don't know. But anyway, I saved you $12 million. I was the first person to introduce emergency medical transporting for Bonita Springs. I brought televised and video capacity to the board meetings. I recommended consultants to do a fire board management organizational plan in the early ages. It was voted down. I recommended consultants to study the closing or relocating of fire stations before building more stations. I spearheaded the 3 fire district consolidation study that we had some years back. My 4 commissioners, after paying $40,000, voted it down. I visited in the last couple of years every state legislator seeking pension reform. I wrote letters to the editor to honor and defend Bonita firefighters. I spent $11,000 of my own money to attend the John F. Kennedy School of Government, a course that is paid for by almost every government official by their agencies. My board voted it down. I spent a week at the National Fire Academy in Maryland on my own time studying budget preparation. My motions at the board are generally not seconded or voted down completely. Some of the things that some motions that I've made in the past that were not seconded. I wanted the chief in Bonita Springs to live in the city, Chief Kinsey and Chief Daigle. I convinced Chief Daigle to do it. He had moved into the city. I wanted to have a preference for Bonita Springs residents in new hires. I did not get it. I wanted a civilian advisory committee in Bonita Springs. I did not get it. I wanted to reduce the longevity for new hires. It was not approved. Our firefighters get 9 weeks annual vacation. I proposed and opposed that amount of time. I proposed to do away for increments for paramedics 2 and 3, positions above and beyond the paramedic who responds in the street. I proposed making rules to control open burnings or fire burnings by the forestry department in Bonita Springs. I went to the forestry department and met with them, and the chief came with me, and we did come up with an agreement, which was never finalized by the fire department. I fought to have proper fire hydrant placement in Bonita Springs. It has not happened, even after our chief and the Bonita Springs utilities agreed to it. In the 8 years I've been on the board, 10 years that I've been on the board, I don't think I've ever seen or heard a proposal, initiative, or any action by the other 5 commissioners for the benefit of the Bonita Springs residents. What I believe we still need to do, and something I would propose in my campaign, we should consolidate fire districts. Collier County's trying to do it. I proposed it from the day I came on 10 years ago. I want pension reform. 100% pensions with golden umbrellas for firefighters must go. I want to end the 9-week long vacations. I believe that the 24-hour tours that we have in the fire department are detrimental to good production and good service. I want to introduce the modified 8-hour day. I want to have labor lawyers that negotiate our union contracts, which are now done by the fire chief. Very important, I want to establish a civilian advisory board. And I want to stop the present hiring of an unneeded deputy chief at about $200,000 a year, which I seem to be the only commissioner who thinks that's right. I believe the citizen residents of Bonita should know it's their choice. Ed FitzGerald to do the right thing for Bonita Springs taxpayers, or my opponent, who will do anything for the firefighters union. My opponent is supported by the firefighters union and by the staff, believe it or not. I think that's the wrong thing to have anybody believe a fire commissioner should do. The fire commissioner is representative of the people. Being friendly with the fire department, being a CERT member, being around the firehouse doesn't engender you to the public, it engenders you to the department. And let me just finish a little bit by saying, why am I running? I'm 10 years on this department. I'm 79 years old. I ought to get out. And if it weren't for my opponent running, I would have retired. I believe, and the Reform Commissioner, I believe the worst thing that could happen to the Bonita Fire Department is election of my opponent. Our board has been I'd say anti, but not representing the taxpayer. Adding an additional member on with the same thought will just make this a completely dysfunctional board with no purpose. You need 4 people like me, by the way. 4 people who are willing to get up and stand up for what they want and to take the insults from the banana peel and to be shunned by the firefighters and even partial people of the staff. Then you will have something good happen for your fire department. It is not happening right now. And I don't mean to necessarily challenge the department operations, but that's how I feel, by the way. I feel that this Board of Commissioners is and has been dysfunctional. By the way, could I have done more? Could I have changed my votes while I was on this board? And the absolute answer is yes. Did I contribute somewhat to failure? Absolutely yes. It's not easy to be a 4-to-1 person. And I tried every way I could to appease them and to work with them and to give them certain things as long as there was a trade-off and a give-back. That never came. Again, I could retire and should retire, but I have too much respect for I love the fire department, by the way. It's not the firefighters that I'm challenging here. It's the fire commissioners, basically, and their misconception of what their responsibility is. Their responsibility to the citizens, not to the department, not to the union.
Ed, in a lot of positions, there's term limits. Why do you think a term limit's
Term
not
limits
appropriate for this?
on a fire board? I think, first of all, I think fire commissioners should be volunteers, non-paid. Why pay us $500 a month to do something to serve the public when good people very rapidly run to doing the right things? So, term limits, give me unpaid first. They'll get off the board after they see how difficult it is and how little they can get done. But you make it a lot of better things done.
You had also mentioned you want to do away with the 9 weeks of vacation. What do you think is an appropriate number?
I would tell you New York City has 4 to 5 weeks. 5 weeks is plenty, by the way. Ask yourself, how much vacation do you get? You know, and you're executives, you're not workers. I'm talking about firefighters, you know. I don't want to take their 9 weeks away so quickly. I explained to you what they get. They get vacation, personal leave days, and medical leave. You can call up any day you don't want a day off and say, well, I'm sick. I would give them unlimited medical leave with proper controls. You're sick, you got to go to the doctor. You're sick, you can't go to your second job. You're sick, you're subject to someone coming to the house and see if you're home. Unlimited sick leave, that's what we have in New York City, and it's really not abused. To give a guy 9 weeks with no constraints, no control, he can take off any day he wants, and he can take 9 weeks a year off.
Is there anything you're proud of, the move to the ISO rating of 3? Is there anything that's been, in your view, been accomplished by them?
Anything that they've accomplished. I am proud of the firefighters. I'm proud to be in one of them. It's very hard to say what am I proud of when I've been disappointed mostly. We have a great fire department. We put up the nicest looking buildings in Bonita Springs, very much like your building, something to be proud of. Our guys are volunteers. They do good things. I'm a reform commissioner. I'm not in there looking to applaud anybody. You can get someone else to do that. You want to say, what about the union? Should I take care of them? They have a union. The firemen have a union. Take care of them. I feel my responsibility is to the taxpayer. What am I proud of? I'm proud of saving you $12 million a year, by the way. I am proud that I tried very hard to do the right thing. And I'm proud that I now say to myself, Eddie, what's best? Retire and enjoy yourself, or commit to 4 more years? And I've committed to 4 more years.
Talk about the change from a 24-hour day to an 8-hour day. That would be a pretty big change. Does New York City do it that way?
New York City, by law, has a work schedule. It's 2 days on, 2 9-hour days, 2 days off, and 2 night tours, 15-hour tours. They work a 40-hour week. Our guys work a 56-hour week. There's good and bad. 56 hours a week is a long time to work, in all honesty, for their pay. So their pay is equitable to what they're working. They're putting a lot of hours in. They should be paid what they're paid. Shouldn't get 100% pension, though. Not at 50 years of age for the rest of your life. That's lifetime employment. 24-hour tour. We do ambulance service. We went at 7 o'clock in the morning Monday. Tuesday morning, 6:30, a run comes in. You've been on duty 24 hours. You are now administering drugs to patients. By the way, if you're on an overtime tour, you're on duty 48 hours. You're driving a truck. You're administering medical treatment to people. Also, that tour, 1 on 2 off, engenders second employment. I'm not against second employment, but I don't want your second job to be more important than your first job. Very controversial. By the way, my daughter's a nurse. She doesn't work a 24-hour tour. She doesn't work an 8-hour tour. She works like 3 or 4 days a week, 15-hour tours or whatever they are. So a modified 8-hour tour is doable. I will tell you, it would save a lot of money. You have a vacancy on a night tour in the fire department. You have to hire a man for 24 hours. He might only be out for 8. You know, you could save. There's a ton of money could be saved. Okay, so that's a controversial thing. Needs some research. I believe it can be done. Let me tell you another controversial thing that's extremely important. Is we're going to take on ambulance transport service in Bonita Springs. Do you know if EMS transports you to the hospital, or we transport you to the hospital, you might get a bill for $1,000. Now they claim it's okay because Medicare pays for it. Well, Medicare, so are you. I think that's almost disgraceful. I believe that the Bonita Springs Fire Department, by conversion and use of 3-man combination fire truck ambulance, and they have them and they're out there. They're not frequently used, but they're coming into existence. You don't have to send 2 units out, no ambulance, no fire truck anymore. You send out 3 men on certified paramedics on a little unit that can handle the extremely rare fire that we have. Can handle every medical call and can transport when necessary. Now you've taken 3 men doing the job of 5 to 6 men. In my mind, you can eliminate the charging for the transport completely. I don't believe the fire department should charge for any service. We don't charge to put your fire out. There's no reason to charge you for medical service. You will have to pay a slight increase in mill rate. It can't be done just completely done, but it is the way of the future. Fire departments today are primarily, except in New York City, are primarily medical transport, medical EMS services, doing medical treatment. If that's your primary function, you ought to be budgeted and operate that way.
Is consolidation dead?
Almost. It depends on Collier County, by the way. Guys like Jim Burke and those commissioners down there shouldn't be dead. We have too many chiefs, too many high-priced chiefs. We have more chiefs in Southwest Lee County than we have in New York City. Higher-ranking chiefs. Our relationship of manpower to worker is completely out of sight. You can't have a chief for every 6 men. You can't do that. We have a lieutenant in New York City for every 5 men in the busy units. Administratively, it's a disaster. We can eliminate all kinds of administrative positions, finance positions. I believe that's another thing. But if you're a commissioner and you're in love with the firemen and you're in love with the union and you're in love with the culture of the fire department, you're not going to vote for consolidation. They're just not going to do it. And right now, we, independent fire districts, have complete control.